glad to have you here. For those who don't know you, can you do a quick little intro of yourself?
Yeah, my name's Andrea Wunderlich. I lead product and customer marketing at a company called Maxio. We do billing and financial operations.
So I know this because we were in a roundtable together yesterday, but what does Maxio do? Who do they sell into?
Yeah, so like I said, it's B2B billing. So like a lot of billing and like finance automation providers will be sort of like a mile wide and an inch deep. So we've really cornered like this B2B workflow that tends to involve like, complex sales negotiated contracts and how do you manage all of your billings and collections for those types of things. So that's kind of like the corner of the market that we've identified and are going after. We are the product of a merger between two companies that were in the space, so SAS Optics and Chargeify. We were bought by Battery Ventures in 2022, rebranded as Maxio, and now we are trying to build some brand recognition for Maxio.
And then I think you said, are you like marketing into CFOs, or am I making that up?
Yeah.
What is that like?
Well, now everybody gets to do it.
Yes.
So welcome to the club.
And share some tricks too.
So we sell to the office of the CFO. It sometimes will be a CFO who like reaches out to us. Usually it's someone on their team. Like it's like a director of finance or director of accounting or controller, or someone who has like billing pain. And then the CFO will be the ultimate decision maker, right? Selling to CFOs is not as scary as like I think people think it is.
It scares me, but I'm ready to be proven otherwise.
And I'll tell you the big misconception that I can squash for you about CFOs. Everybody thinks that CFOs want to see like hard ROI analysis.
That's what I've always assumed.
They do not, because your math sucks and theirs is good. And actually, if you try to give them something that asserts math on them, they are going to poke it. They're going to be looking at your assumptions. They're going to be looking at your formulas, and they are going to call major BS, and you're actually going to erode trust with them.
Interesting. So I've been doing it wrong all along. Yeah.
I mean, it was hard for me to grasp too, because I was like, oh, like this feels right. Like, but yeah, I think what you need to do is like have basically like with any other buyer, you need to have like solid social proof. You need to have a clear articulation of the pain. Usually you need to explain where the budget is coming from to purchase something. Because that's the biggest thing with CFOs is they're just like, hey, like the budget is the budget. Yeah. So like, show me where it's coming from. And then if you present your business case, they're reasonable people. Like they're going to be like, yeah, let's do it. I think that, I would say that's the biggest thing though, is people always like want to go spend a bunch of money on these like ROI calculators. Don't do it.
I've spent into the six figures on a something acronym report from an analyst firm. Yeah. That you then get 3 anonymous respondents, and you can't really cut up what they find in the report at the end of the day. Yeah. And I may or may not have gotten in trouble from that analyst firm for cutting the report up and repurposing it.
Oh, really?
Not like actual trouble, but a very stern email that said, hey, stop doing this. So
I am doing...
If you're watching, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, it does feel like there's a lot of rules. And I feel like sometimes in marketing, you just have to ask for forgiveness.
That's my motto with all of my marketing is, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you get on your soapbox here a little bit. What are your biggest issues with buying software?
Me buying software?
Yes.
I think it's like the adoption piece and the integration into our existing tech stack. Like that, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. Like that is the real objection. Is like we already have so much stuff, you know? Yeah. And it all has to connect to Salesforce, and it all has to connect to this and that and whatever. Yep. And it's not easy to like get RevOps time to go evaluate and implement and do all the things you need to do. Never mind the training and enablement that you need to do with like users of it's a huge undertaking. And so I try to like keep my tech stack pretty lean and mean because it ends up being more work to acquire and use something than it would be to just do it manually, which I think that's the big thing we're all like fighting against now, right? Is like, where does the pain scale tip until you're like, no, this is actually like completely unmanageable to do by myself.
So you are actually the first person who has mentioned training and enablement in that answer. And that is something that so many people overlook. And then, 6 months later, approaching renewal, they're like, was the tool successful or not? And I was like, no, because you totally forgot training and enablement.
So I do customer marketing as well. And the world of customer marketing has like opened my eyes to like how bad we are at marketing to our existing customer base, which is really important, right? Because those are the people who are going to ultimately become your advocates. Yeah. And we're totally just dropping the ball. Like most companies, I'm not going to call anyone out. Yes. But like
we're taking the high road, so you don't have to.
You do the implementation. You get introduced to a customer success manager. And then you do 6 months in, they might reach out and be like, hey, do you want to buy something
Remember
else?
me? Yeah.
and then it's renewal time.
Yeah.
And there's no adoption focused campaigns or initiatives. There's no real like continued value realization throughout the process. And like that's just the case. Like 90% of the tools that I use, I'm like barely scratching the surface, even 2 years into being a user.
Yep.
And it's partially because, I don't have time. I'm not sitting in here like, let me be a power user of every tool I use.
Yep.
And then also like, there's just no education really going on.
Yep.
It's something we're trying to crack in our business too, though, because we have this issue where, with the current environment, macroeconomic environment, a lot of people have left, like been laid off or changed jobs. And so whoever your champion was for your tool is now gone. And now you need to go find another one or else renewal is going to be very ugly situation. Yeah. So
we've had a couple times recently where the CSM was not even aware of the champion being let go, unfortunately. And the email just comes bounced back. Like it's happening that regularly, which is crazy. Yeah. Can you share a little bit of what you're working on right now from like a customer marketing perspective?
Yeah. So customer marketing is a huge focus for us right now. And I'd say like, 2023 was the year of like everyone being like, grow within your customer base, expand. And
I heard that like 2,000 times.
I know. It was one of those things where you start to like twitch a little bit. But I do firmly believe, so I think there are a few different aspects of customer marketing. This is how I run my program. There is adoption, there's retention, there's expansion, and there's advocacy. You cannot get to expansion and advocacy without adoption.
Which I feel like people just jump to those last two without doing what you're doing.
Yes. So like you need the adoption stuff. And it's very hard, I think, because it's a little bit of like who owns this? Because customer marketing is not gold on product adoption or user happiness or any of these things that like maybe a product team cares about or whatever. CS uses as like, indicators, but you can't get to any of the other stuff without doing the adoption piece first. So we are kind of, and we're guilty of it too, right? Like our advocacy program, world-class. Our adoption program needs work. So that's what we're kind of going back and and rebuilding is trying to figure out, work really closely with our product managers. So this is where my product marketing piece comes into. Identify like what are the value paths within our product? Like what are the things people are doing that are helping them realize value? And how can we coach them along the way to have these kind of like aha moments, right? And there's layers to it, right? Like there's an order in which things need to happen, especially for our product. So we do billing and financial operations. So like first someone might be using our billing and invoicing like aspect of the product. They might just be sending invoices, collecting cash, but then they're going to need like the rev rec piece, and then they're going to need the SaaS metrics piece. And so how can we like go with them and kind of coach them along their journey? And so we're doing a lot of like customer only like webinars, and we're trying to like also divide audiences between like 101 and then like
interesting
more advanced, right? So like, hey, a lot of people just are like I need to know like the objects and how they relate to each other and what are the basic workflows.
That's really interesting.
But there's a lot of people who are like, no, I get that. But like, I'm trying to do this like sort of more complicated thing. And how can we enable people at scale on those like 102 scenarios where those people are not having to jump on the phone with our support and CS team every time they want to do something. So we're trying to identify those situations that are more like advanced and then do some enablement at scale with webinar programs, with, we're starting to like beef up our Zendesk content. So it's not just like
that's something we're working on
straight documentation. It's like, hey, here's also a how-to guide, how to do X with the product, you know? So that's where we're starting. We have some like email nurtures as well that we've done. And what I'm really excited about is to start using the product to do some of this stuff. It's hard to do in-app marketing. Like you gotta have.
I can't even pretend to know how to do that, but I'm trying to figure it out right now.
It's hard. Like, so, you know, we have Pindo, just getting it like tagged and configured correctly. Challenge, right? And you need dev resources to do that. And then figuring out like, okay, well, we don't want to just blast everybody with, you know, random messages. We want to be very intentional about how we're guiding people.
Contextual,
Yeah, and to me, this is like, is this marketing? Is this product management? Like, and so we're having to kind of create like a little tiger team of like customer enablement. And we have people who are represented from sales and CS and marketing and product. And we're like working together to figure out what the next step is for customer enablement. Because to me, customer enablement is the foundation of customer marketing. You can't do that without having that done first.
We've had some heavy hitters up here. You really know your stuff. I'm kind of blown away of like some of what you're schooling me on. This has been really impressive. So are you running like a customer advisory board or anything like that right now?
Not really. Like, so to me, like, I'm very iffy on cabs because to me, they're like super self-serve. Like, what is in it for the customer?
Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Because I agree with you, but if done the right way, it's a game changer.
Well,
so keep going.
Maybe you could school me on this then, because
get back on your soapbox. Why do you not like cabs, or how most people structure cabs?
Like, I just feel like cabs are like, so cabs, I don't know. To me, there's like the purpose of a cab should be should be a voice of the customer initiative, right? The goal should be to learn. More often than not, the goal is not to learn. It is to present the executive level vision or the high level product roadmap and get positive feedback. Like, they don't want negative feedback. They don't want like to hear real experiences with the product. Like, it's just like it's a validation for the board. It's like, hey, we put together this cab and we showed them the product roadmap and the vision and where we're going. And everyone said, yay. And so the board is like, great, our customers are happy, let's move on. That's what most cabs are.
Agreed.
And that is just a waste of time. Like, I don't have time for that.
No.
Like, so yeah. And I think
neither do the customers either.
And there's nothing in it for them, right? Like, I mean, maybe you're like, hey, we'll give you 10% off at renewal or something for doing, you know, sitting in this echo chamber a couple times a year.
I'm forever going to think of cabs as echo chambers now.
I mean, it's like, we might as well be looking in the mirror and winking at ourselves, right? So I think that's my hot take.
So I agree with it. And I think I ran the cab for a decent amount of my time when I was at my last company. And to start, it was a very one-way street. It was basically how you described it. And we were like, we got to do something different. We really don't want the positive feedback. Like, we want the negative feedback so we can actually improve what we're doing. And then the other big kind of unlock for us was making it a two-way street and getting the cab members to then kind of interact with other cab members without us present and kind of build them up and build their networks up so they have this new community of people that they can use really as their sounding board. So I think once we made it a little bit more beneficial for them, because it was very selfish at first, it was really just for us. The attendance got better. The comments that we were getting were better, both positive and negative. People participated more. And it was like an amazing feedback loop. So it's something that we're going to be starting here at UserEvidence pretty soon.
Nice.
With a couple different, I guess, changes from what I learned previously. So the first is we want to make sure that the cab is laser focused on our actual ICP at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Either customers or maybe aspiring customers or people we'd love to have. So you're kind of getting market feedback too. Because where we went wrong in my last company was we really just had anyone who wanted to be on it. And then you're getting feedback from people who really aren't your ICP at the end of the day.
Or they're happy.
Yeah.
Or they're like
yes.
super champions.
And it's like,
already.
oh, everything great. Like, I don't have anything that I need to share with you. So
Yeah.
definitely something that we're working on. And I think for me, it was an unreal way just to get feedback on anything marketing related before it went live.
Yeah.
There were often times where I thought I was going to just totally nail whatever we were launching. And then a couple people would come back and be like, this is so far off the mark. And it's great just to get that feedback before you launch it and make expensive mistakes.
Maybe the right thing then is to like divorce the cab from advocacy. It's not an advocacy thing.
Interesting.
It's a
Keep going.
It's a research thing, right?
Yeah.
Like this is your customer sounding board, which means it needs to be made up of a realistic sampling of your customers.
Yeah.
A subset of which are probably not happy.
Yeah.
Right? And then some other people who are just like lukewarm, and then maybe you sprinkle in some champions in there.
Yes.
But I think that's the problem is people are like, if you want to take your most passionate champions to dinner, just do that.
Yeah.
Just take them to dinner. Like, we don't need to call it a cab.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
I love that.
so anyway, maybe that's it.
So we're working on kind of leveling up our narrative right now. And we've got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been asking this question of everyone who we've had up here. When you hear customer evidence, what are the first few things that come to mind?
Evidence?
So I'll lead you a little bit more.
Okay.
We've talked, since I started at UserEvidence last July, we did a crazy expedited messaging update when I first started in like 35 days with a website redesign, new branding, new messaging, you name it. Would never do it again, don't recommend it. And I didn't want to do that, but we were raising our Series A, so my boss, Evan, shout out Evan, when I was doing my final interview presentation, I said, these are the 3 things that we're not going to do before I get into the roadmap. Redo the website, do a rebrand, or spend money on paid ads. And Evan said, I agree with all of that, but we got to look at our best part for this Series A announcement at the end of the summer. So it was crazy. So in that messaging update, we really focused more on social proof and anchoring that or towards that term. And it was something that, you know, really landed well with customer marketers and just kind of marketers in general. But it didn't really resonate nearly as well with marketing execs. So what we're trying to do is kind of reframe the problem a little bit differently so that people aren't just thinking of, you know, case studies and testimonials as social proof, but there's product stats, ROI data, competitive intelligence, really types of impactful evidence that will help influence buyers. And you can tear it down.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm also like, I'm no authority on customer marketing, right? I just happen to run the program at Maxio, but
you know what you're talking about.
I mean, but it's all from this one experience. And this is the first, I haven't run programs at different companies. So I don't know how, if like the lingo I use is like the lingo everyone else uses.
Yeah.
But like, I think of tools like UserEvidence as like automation for my advocacy program, which is largely manual. And what lives in my advocacy program is like references, referrals, case studies, testimonials, and then all the gifting and
dinners.
stuff.
No, kidding.
Dinner, gifting, and dinner. All that stuff lives in advocacy. And the hard part about advocacy is like identifying people who are happy and then figuring out what they are and are not willing to do, and then engaging them at the right time. And then making sure you have permission to use all the stuff and everything's current.
You're kind of reciting our platform page right now, so this is great.
All that stuff, right? All the stuff that's my predecessor built in Salesforce in a painstaking way. And now I'm just like, oh, thank God it's just runs, right? I don't know. I have a girl on my team, Sydney, shout out Sid, who's probably like, it's not running, it's not running. And I'm like, it's fine, Sid's on it. I don't know. Like I've heard like advocacy platform. I don't know. To me, that it sounds a little buzzwordy, but I do use the word advocacy, so maybe that's right. But like, I don't know. I think, so like I've heard like different people say like, it's like sort of content like management too, because it's like, it's also like all of your assets related to customer stories that you're trying to store. At least I think that's a part of UserEvidence.
Yeah, no, that absolutely is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so I have some work to do is what I'm what I'm hearing. This is all helpful.
Yeah. Social, you know what? Maybe we take a page out of Anthony's talk the other day, which is like, just don't bury it. It's social proof. Just say social proof.
Yeah.
You can get them on all the other stuff later.
Yeah,
but people immediately know what you mean when you say social proof. And so...
Which is what I thought last summer when I was like, let's anchor it around this.
And then your CEO was like, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're all in the category creation.
Well, that's the thing is like, shout out Evan. I've been a pain in the ass about this recently.
Yeah.
You know, there's category creation, there's positioning, there's messaging, and I've been having to really educate him on, hey, what are we doing? What are we not doing? Because I do not want to create a category, nor does he. So how do we elevate the story without shooting ourselves in the feet and, you know, trying to inadvertently create a category because it's expensive, it's time consuming, it's not linear, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I think there's places you can do, like this like content series you're doing is a chance for you to talk about it. I think it's just like, hey, the homepage can just be social proof for customer marketers. Yeah. And then people immediately know what that is. Yep. They maybe even have a budget line item for it. Yep. But then your job and the rest of your website and the rest of your marketing materials is like, why is that different than the crazy Salesforce automation I built or your competitors, you know? And that's where you can kind of tell the story about, hey, it's more like social proof is more than just like a quote and a headshot.
So that's what we're trying to do and fix. So last question. This has been a blast. This is a broad one, but the answer, I'd say all the answers that we've gotten have been pretty interesting.
Okay.
How do you go about building trust in your marketing?
In my market? I think, so we do a lot of like influencer marketing. So the thing about finance and accounting people is it's hard to bullshit your way through a talk with finance and accounting. Like you're either a CPA or you're not. Yeah. I am not, you know?
I'm not.
So I think like when I first got back to Maxio, it's like, should I be like on these webinars? And like, you know, and I think like I did a couple where I was like fumbling through and I really felt imposter syndrome. And I think that
I feel it every day.
Felt like from my audience.
Yep.
And now I'm just like, you know what? My role here is more facilitator of conversation and not subject matter expert. Let me go find people who know what they're talking about, who are CPAs or CFAs, and this is their bread and butter. Yep. And I've just started forging relationships with those people and then asking them to be a part of our content efforts. And this is not like a new play. I think a lot of people are doing this, but I do think that like really did help build trust and credibility is like, I really try not to like speak to things that I don't have. I don't have any personal experience. This is not my area of expertise. Yeah. So let me just pass the reins off to somebody like a Ben Murray or a Chris Ortega. There are some people who we partner with a lot who deeply understand this space and have great, really well thought out opinions on it. Yeah.
I worked at a startup a couple companies ago that was marketing to mechanical engineers. And I tried to do what you started saying at first and quickly realized like, I am not a mechanical engineer, so I need to go talk to SMEs internally and let them and kind of build them up and let them do the talking. So I've learned that the hard way. Yeah. This was awesome. Thank you for coming on. This was a blast and really, really fun. Enjoy the combo.
Thank you.